Living in the West is expensive AF, and mostly we justify it by saying, hey, our quality of life is a lot better too. But what if that's just not true? What if you can get the same things abroad, but for a lot cheaper than at home? So, let's make a few comparisons and find out what exactly you can buy with $1,000 in other countries compared to what you can get at home. Wait up until we get to some of the cheaper countries because they're going to blow your mind. What exactly can you buy at home? Well, honestly, that depends. Because if you're someone who lives close to the poverty line or on a month-to-month basis, then that money will probably be going towards rent. And it probably won't even cover it completely, right? Haven't you heard? Monthly rent prices have been soaring lately. In the US, the average rent was $2,000. And if you're living in New York, then that amount won't even get you a studio apartment for a month, let alone electricity and groceries. The UK has it a bit easier. In London, rent prices are closer to the £1,000 mark, but even that is a lot more than you'd be paying abroad. But let's forget about all that for a moment and assume that you've had all your bills completely paid. You've got money for groceries and your electricity won't be running out anytime soon. What can you do with $1,000 now? It's not all the money in the world, but it does go a long way. Heck, you could buy over 180 pumpkin spice lattes from Starbucks. You could invite your friends over and they'll definitely sing your praises for years to come. After all, the pumpkin spice latte is to die for. So let's talk about food. How many times can you eat out with this amount of money? Well, it depends where you're eating from. If you order the $1.50 hot dog and soda combo from Costco every single day, then that amount of money will last you about 650 meals. That means you could eat the hot dog for about 2 years straight. Definitely an interesting idea, and definitely something we would not recommend. And if you're feeling the blues, then you can get the McDonald's Happy Meal, or about 200 of them. I mean, they're guaranteed to put a smile on your face, right? But maybe you're the sort of person who doesn't like to eat out a lot. What do you do then? You could blow it all on buying jeans. You'll be able to get about 30 pairs. You probably wouldn't need that many, but who knows, right? How about going to a concert? Shake it off with Taylor Swift at her concert. You can go about 20 times. Or get 2 of the really expensive tickets and go see her up close. It's the perfect place to have a love story, you know? That is if her fans don't raid your home after learning that you're taking their chance from them. And if you buy the resale tickets, then let's just say they're beyond your wildest dreams, even with $1,000. You get the gist of it, right? But enough about things you can get at home. Let's move on now and talk about what you can get in other countries instead. Let's start with what exactly you can get in Peru. Now, Peru is pretty well known as one of the cheapest countries in the world, and honestly, it's for a good reason. Your dollar will stretch pretty far here, and here's why. The average cost of living in this country can be as low as $500. There are pairs of jeans more expensive than that. A one-bedroom apartment in literally any city in the country shouldn't be more than $400 a month. But you can even get a 3-bedroom apartment for under $700 a month. Now, that's just absurd. People living in New York or London probably have their jaws on the floor right now. But that's not all you can do here. Because even if you decide to live like royalty, you still have many hundreds of dollars left in your account. You can eat at restaurants for as little as $3 a meal, or go a little more high-end and spend $10. This means you could eat out every single day and still have a lot more to spend. And on top of that, public transport here is so cheap, it'll cost you less than 50 cents to go anywhere you want. At this point, maybe it's time to shift to Peru after all. You'll never have to worry about limiting yourself to a budget like ever again. But let's move across the globe for the next country we could talk about, all the way to Indonesia. Now, you may be wondering, is Indonesia really as inexpensive as they say? Turns out, South Asia is at the top of the list when it comes to inexpensive places to live. And if you don't want to spend a lot of money, then there's no place better than Indonesia. Because when we say a little goes a long way here, we mean it goes like miles and miles. In the capital, Jakarta, it's 60% less expensive to live here than in New York. 40% less expensive than in Berlin, and 50% less expensive than in Melbourne. And with $1,000 in your pocket, you could live like the filthy rich and not have to worry about a single thing. The most luxurious pairs of jeans can be found for just under $50, and shirts for about $30. The most expensive shoes and sneakers cost just above $70. If you're a fan of retail shopping, then maybe a flight to Indonesia is in order. After all, you're getting the exact same thing, just for a lot cheaper. But living in general is pretty cheap too. A one-bedroom apartment shouldn't cost any more than $250 a month, and if you live in a cost, which roughly translates to rented room, then you can get some for as cheap as $60 a month. Now, those $60 rooms will be as small as a closet, so we wouldn't exactly recommend living like Harry Potter, but hey, it could work in a pinch. You'll still have a lot of roof for over a year, so there's really not much to complain about. But you can get one of the better costs for about $200 though, which is a bargain in itself. And meals are another thing that is just as cheap. Even eating out can be as little as $2. And if you decide to live on groceries instead, then your bill shouldn't be more than $50 a month. And on another positive note, there are about 17,000 islands to explore here. So that cheap transport we talked about sure is gonna come in handy, right? But maybe your tastes might be a little more European. Don't worry, we have the perfect place for that too. Bulgaria promises not to break your bank. With its soft sandy beaches and mountain ranges that look like they're right out of a fantasy book, Bulgaria is a nature lover's dream. And if you're also someone who wants to live frugally, then you'll definitely fit right in. Sofia, the capital of the country, is roughly 60% cheaper than London, so the Brits will have an easy time relocating to this wonderland. For a single person, rent won't cross the $500 mark, and utilities max out at about $100, so you'll have plenty of money left over for all your other activities. This country will definitely keep you excited. Alcohol is so cheap, it might as well be water. In fact, even a craft beer, which will certainly be more than a pint of the local lager, will rarely clock in at more than around $3. Now, combine that with the vibrant nightlife of this country, you might have guessed where we're going with this. You'll be partying so hard, you probably won't even remember your own name. But if you're more of the quiet sort and like to go somewhere a little more sophisticated, why not try out the opera? Even the most expensive tickets will only cost you about $30 max. And with advanced booking, you can go as low as $10. Imagine, 100 trips to the opera, you'll probably have everything memorized by the end of it. But we wouldn't recommend that when there's so much more to do in Bulgaria. But there's one more place where you can get both comfort and luxury without spending a lot of cash, because South Africa has it all. Welcome to the Rainbow Nation. No matter what your ethnicity or nationality, you'll feel right at home. And it definitely doesn't hurt how inexpensive the country is. You could go to Cape Town and watch the sunset over the bay from the most lavish apartment, knowing that $1,000 is completely covering your rent. Or you could go a lot cheaper and get a studio apartment for about $450. And trust us, you'll appreciate the fact that you have that money left over. Going to the coastline to see the waves will barely put a dent in your wallet. Taxi rides are as low as $1.50 a mile. And on your way back home, pop into a restaurant. Eating out comes to as little as $13 in a mid-range restaurant. And if you're a foodie, then you might want to try out a few cheap options too. That'll be about $8 per meal. Your stomach will definitely thank you for all the options you'll have available. Just make sure not to blow that $1,000 all in one place. Maybe home is where the heart is, but it's definitely not where the wallet is happiest. Like it or not, living in countries like the US or the UK is expensive. Fortunately, if you're ever looking to cut down on your expenses a little bit, there are always other options available. Which of these countries were you most surprised by? Let us know in the comments down below. And if you liked this video, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. Stay tuned for more content. You never know when your life might take an international turn.